The story of 100 Nations is really a collection of many stories, over 5 million in number from around the globe. Mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters, each one of them is with their own story of how God touched their lives through the work of Go To Nations. This is God's story. It's a history of epic proportions, as Go To Nations missionaries have played a key role in the continuation of what started in the book of Acts. The Great Commission begins right here as Jesus says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." And so the mission of Go To Nations is to every tribe, every people, every nation. The story of 100 Nations began in 1981 when God called me, Daniel Williams, my wife Sharon, and our 4 small children to Costa Rica. Since then, we have been mobilizing believers around the world to fulfill their strategic role in the Great Commission. What started in the 1980s as Calvary International in San Jose, Costa Rica, continued throughout Latin America. More than 10,000 nationals were trained for ministry through Bible schools in our first 10 years. From Mexico to the Ivory Coast, from Nigeria to the Philippines, Calvary missionaries spread the gospel and experienced entire communities transformed. When the Iron Curtain fell at the end of 1991, Calvary missionaries and tens of thousands of prayer warriors, financial supporters, and churches from across America partnered together to support evangelism, Bible schools, church plants, public school ministry, street evangelism, leadership development, and missions training starting in Latvia and eventually spreading across 11 time zones of the Soviet Union. Over 1 million souls were won to Jesus in Russia alone, with over 1,000 churches planted and 153,000 Christians trained for ministry. At the same time, national missionaries in Southeast Asia were being trained in Manila by Calvary Bible Institute, resulting in 350 Asian missionaries sent all over the world. In Jos, Nigeria, a Calvary Bible School was pioneered to raise up Nigerian missionaries who would target 90 unreached villages with the gospel across central Nigeria. All this was completely directed by Nigerian nationals. The story was growing person by person, nation by nation. In 2000, Dr. Jerry Williamson was appointed president of Calvary International and cast the 2020 goals and vision of the ministry. The 2000s also brought about the birth of new Calvary ministry teams in Thailand, Burkina Faso, and Honduras. Through these beachheads, national missionaries have been equipped and sent to unreached people groups. As a result, hundreds of thousands of children have been reached and sustainable development has come to villages in dire need. This decade brought about the publishing of Go To Nations' essential tool for mobilization, Global Pathway. During one 42-month period, we documented over 127,000 salvations with over 200 new church plants through Russian churches using the Global Pathway strategy. In 2010, Calvary International leadership pivoted toward the next decade of ministry by establishing another arm of ministry, specifically to provide humanitarian aid in difficult areas. Calvary International changed its name to Go To Nations, and GlowDev, the relief and development arm of Go To Nations, was birthed. The GTN GlowDev team traveled the world to learn proven best practices for sustainable development through aquaponics. Through both Calvary Bible School graduates and national ministers raised up through Global Pathway, we are seeing exponential growth in places like Tanzania, where Go To Nations is actively training thousands of pastors and church leaders to take the next step in reaching the unreached. Year after year, we continue to see new stories of life transformation. Tens of thousands won to Christ. Hundreds of thousands of people receive ministry. Hundreds graduate from Bible schools. Thousands of leaders trained and discipled. And thousands of churches planted and engaged in the Great Commission. Since 1981, Go To Nations has seen 1.6 million lives won for Christ. 5.8 million received gospel ministry. and over 25,000 leaders graduate from Bible schools worldwide. To date, over 6,000 believers have received missionary training to impact nations, and over 6,000 churches have been planted and engaged in the Great Commission. Right now, Great Commission workers equipped by Go-To Nations are actively engaging in 8 of the 20 least reached nations in the world. The result? In 2018, Go-To Nations surpassed the 2020 goal of ministering in 100 nations. And because of partners like you who diligently pray for and significantly support the ministry of Go-To Nations financially, we are moving closer and closer to finishing the task of fulfilling the Great Commission in this generation. With you, 100 is just the beginning.